exactly what Iran has done. When America does it, it's a violation of sovereignty. The Chinese are essentially aggressive businessmen. The Chinese are not soldiers. The Chinese don't want to fight. The Chinese want to take advantage of you by loaning you money. And when India has always maintained strategic sovereignty, even at the peak of the Cold War, when we were close to the Soviets and Jain friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the CHANAKYA Dialogues English. Friends, this entire thing which is happening in what the world calls the Middle East and we call West Asia, there is a lot of firefighting which is currently going on. It seems that the Americans have now hit hard at Houthi targets. And people don't like it one bit. Iran is saying that if America attacks us, there are going to be very severe consequences. Syria does not like it. Iraq does not like it. But the problem is their liking or disliking does not make any difference because America says you should have controlled these people who are using your soil to attack and kill American soldiers. Now, very recently, America took 3 casualties. 3 soldiers were killed in a drone strike. Now, that looks very bad for Joe Biden in an election year. Now, why is this happening? Today, I'm going to analyze for you. He said this and he said that. I'll tell you all of that also. I'll tell you all of who said what. But at the end of the day, let's analyze why this is happening and why I think there is a very, very strong China factor involved in all these things. China, the only country that's not talking too much, that's keeping quiet, sitting in the corner, watching everything pass by. And China, that is behind all this planning now. So ladies and gentlemen, I have some data for you and I'm going to quote from this piece of paper. Now, CENTCOM, which is the US Central Command, it says that the US has struck a land attack cruise missile and 4 anti-ship missiles, that were prepared to launch against ships in the Red Sea. So, basically what the US is saying is that the CENTCOM, Central Command of the United States of America, launched a preemptive strike. This is a preemptive strike. And what is a preemptive strike? You know that the other party is going to attack and before they do, you attack. That is a preemptive strike. This is exactly what the US did. And National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told US media on Sunday there would be more steps to deter the militias. And US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is heading to the Middle East on a trip that will include stops at Israel, Egypt, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the West Bank. Now, this is the overall thing. This is the overall perspective, ladies and gentlemen. This is what is pretty much happening. But now the Houthis have struck a defiant tone. And Yahya Sarria, he said these attacks will not deter us from our moral, religious and humanitarian stance in support of the resilient Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. Now, I don't understand this and I have never understood it. So, these guys want to say that they support Hamas. Okay? While it is stupid to support Hamas, but if they wish to support Hamas, they should go to the Gaza Strip and fight from there. I don't know why they are fighting from hundreds of kilometers away. What purpose did that serve? Apart from trying to irritate Israel and irritate other countries in the world, and then everybody will come down upon you and your friendly and religious obligations will go up in smoke because, when you have missiles raining down upon you, then your friendly and religious obligations will go out of the window now. Iran Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Nasir Kanani says the attacks are a violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Iraq and Syria, international law, and a clear violation of the United Nations Charter. I don't understand how Iran can say all this. Iran also bombed Iraq a week and a half back. They bombed Pakistan a week and a half back. You see? So when America does something, exactly what Iran has done, when America does it, it's a violation of sovereignty. When Iran does it, it's absolutely fine because Iran bombed Syria, Iran bombed Iraq, and Iran bombed Pakistan. 3 countries in a span of 7 days, and today Iran is quoting the United Nations Charter. The Iraqi government said that this aggressive strike will put security in Iraq and the region on the brink of the abyss. Sure, Syria said strikes will inflame the conflict in the Middle East in an extremely dangerous way. Russia said it's obvious that the airstrikes are deliberately designed to further inflame the conflict, and the European Union says everybody should try to avoid. Lots of statements, lots of talk, and everybody is saying something or the other. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's come to the big news. The big news is that 2 days back, China actually started operations in the Red Sea. China was coming in for a lot of flack. you claim to be an alternative to the United States of America. What have you done about it? Please understand, ladies and gentlemen, China is very wary of putting troops on the ground. It has seen the American experience, and the Chinese will not want to make the same mistake. The Chinese are essentially aggressive businessmen. The Chinese are not soldiers. The Chinese don't want to fight. The Chinese want to take advantage of you by loaning you money, and when you are unable to repay, then taking your land. This is what the Chinese do best. The Chinese war experience hasn't been very kind to the Chinese people, and in their own psyche, they understand that if you put troops in foreign soil, then lines of communication, lines of supply, and also body bags. You see, lines of communication, lines of supply, extremely difficult to maintain, especially in foreign shores. They're difficult to maintain even in your own country if you happen to have a conflict inside your country. They're extremely difficult. Lines of communication and lines of supply are always extremely difficult to maintain, leave alone in a foreign country. The Americans have some sort of experience in all this. They've been fighting ever since 1945. 1945 was when the Second World War was over. And they've been fighting ever since, so they know. The Chinese don't. The Chinese experience has been pretty slipshod in this case. Now, they've started escorting their own ships in the Red Sea area, which is a big plus. And now here is a map in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like you to take a look at this map and let me come to the crux of the issue. But before I do, let me tell you that the Indian Navy has done a fantastic job, and in the past 2 months, it has stopped 17 attacks. It has stopped 17 attacks and from sea pirates. During the attacks in the Red Sea, the American coalition of 20 nations has initiated Operation Prosperity Guardian. India is not part of this coalition, although working as a net security provider with the West and Iran in the Indo-Pacific. Now, why did India not join this? Why did India not join this? So there is this coalition led by the Americans, right? And they're doing pretty much what India is doing. In a different way, actually. India is not firing missiles and all. India is saving people. The Americans are firing missiles. But India did not join. There was a lot of pressure to, for India to join this coalition led by the United States of America. India did not. And there are 2-3 reasons that I want to explain to you. Now, you'll say, the Indians are there next door. They're doing their own operations. They're saving people. The Americans are killing terrorists. Why don't they partner, and why doesn't this partnership produce results? Now, there are 2-3 things. Number one is strategic sovereignty. India has always maintained strategic sovereignty. Even at the peak of the Cold War, when we were close to the Soviets and pretty much 90% of our equipment was coming from the USSR, India was part of the non-aligned, the non-aligned nations. India hosted the NAM, and India was part of the non-aligned meet. India has maintained strategic autonomy ever since I started following geopolitics, and even before that. So India has been pretty much on the same path, saying that we will not work under a global superpower. We will do exactly what we need to do. And we'll do it on our own terms. Now, this has rubbed America the wrong way a lot of times. This whole thing about not giving India drones, a hiccup here, a hiccup there, Congress saying, hey, you tried to kill Gurpatwant Singh Pannu and we are giving you drones, but it's a conditional offer that you'll get to the root of this entire problem and figure out who tried to kill Pannu. That is all nonsense. As I mentioned before in one of my videos, ladies and gentlemen, America doesn't care if Pannu lives or dies. America couldn't care less. America did not care when 3,000 Americans were killed in 9/11. They didn't care. If they cared, they would have asked the Saudis some very tough questions. They didn't. They attacked Iraq instead. Iraq, that had nothing to do with 9/11. So this American posturing, this whole thing about, we want to ask you questions, you tried to attack an American citizen, sorry, you don't care about American citizens, so just shut up. And let me tell you what this whole game is about. So India does not want to offend Iran. India may not agree with Iran. Even I don't agree with Iran. I love Iranians, by the way. I love the country. I would love to visit. But not with these mad mullahs in Tehran. I don't think I can make it there. They're absolutely nuts. But the people of Iran, I just want to tell you that I have a lot of respect and love for you. And I would love to visit your country. And when these guys get the hell out, these mad mullahs of Tehran, when they're out, I'll visit your country. Now, when you look at Iran and when you look at why India has not joined this coalition, you'll realize that India has invested substantially in Iran in form of the Chabahar port, and there is that railway line jutting right into near Afghanistan and almost into Central Asia. India is doing all of that. And the only way India can isolate Pakistan, the way India can do it, of course, diplomatically, yes, FATF, yes, sanctions, yes, all that is one thing. But if you have to physically isolate Pakistan, and it's very important in this perspective, and then I'll come to why I'm recording this video today. The only way they can do it is by making Iran an alternative. And this is, how the Indians have been trying to convince Iran to mainstream themselves. You can't mainstream yourself by bombing other countries or by nurturing terror groups. Like, for example, Iran has a lovely coastline. Iran has a deep sea port. Balochistan has a deep sea port. But the issue is not Balochistan and Gwadar. The issue is that when the American troops come, when the European troops come, they come to Karachi, they use Pakistani soil, and through that Pakistani soil, enter Afghanistan for operations. This gives the Pakistanis leverage over the United States of America. In the long term, India seeks to take away that leverage from the Pakistanis. But unfortunately, the Iranians aren't playing ball, but they will. They will, over a period of time when the temperatures have cooled down, the Iranians will understand that there is a wealth of oil, there is a future waiting for the people, and everything is not a conspiracy theory, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it is. India trying to convince Iran, trying to isolate Pakistan. This is a long-term plan, but now coming to the main issue. You see, so here it is. And this is the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Now, take a look at this map in front of you. This corridor starts from Mumbai, hits the UAE, then takes a slight left towards Al Guwaifat, and then goes still west towards Harad in Saudi Arabia and to Riyadh and to Al Haditha. From there, it jumps across to Israel, and from Israel, a short jump across the sea to Greece. Now, from Greece, it goes further west towards Germany. Now, this is actually the BRI killer. This is the BRI killer. What is the BRI? The Belt and Road Initiative of China, in which China has spent trillions of dollars, invested money in more than 50, 70 countries. And the flagship venture is, of course, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. You see, this corridor, which India is a part of, because it starts in India, it can take India's economic standing multiple times forward. It's a massive shot in the arm as far as the GDP of India is concerned. It's going to be, India using this to export goods to Europe and to Saudi Arabia and UAE and Israel. It's roads, ships, train tracks, everything. This is what India is seeking to do, and this is exactly what China is seeking to disrupt. Now, look at the other picture here, and this is of the Belt and Road, right? This picture is of the Belt and Road. Watch both these. Half your screen is the Belt and Road, and the other half is, this economic corridor. You can see the purpose of this economic corridor is to be a viable option against the BRI. This is exactly what India and the rest of the world is seeking to, and which is why China is deliberately fanning the flames of conflict using Iran in West Asia, or you can call it the Middle East. Now, there's another news as far as the Indian Navy is concerned. They've sent a submarine, INS Karanj, to one of Sri Lanka's main ports, conveying a message to Beijing and Male. INS Karanj, a diesel-electric submarine of the Indian Navy, arrived in the Colombo port on Saturday, and the Sri Lankan Navy accorded it a ceremonial welcome. Around 100 nominated personnel of the Sri Lankan Navy were briefed about the submarine on board. And India has emerged as a net security provider in the Indo-Pacific. Very recently, a Chinese survey vessel wanted to dock in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankans said no. Then that vessel made its way to Maldives, where Mohammad Muizzu was waiting to welcome the vessel. He's a Chinese stooge. So this is what happened now. India has very clearly, by docking this submarine in Sri Lanka, India has told China that this part of the world listens to us, we control this part of the world, you no longer have a foothold here. And I think this is a big win. This diesel electric submarine of the Indian Navy docking in Sri Lanka is a big deal, simply because a week back permission was denied to a Chinese vessel to do the same. Thank you for watching this video, ladies and gentlemen, and now to the question and answers. The first question is, this is Robin from Greater Noida. He says, love your work and analysis. Thank you, Robin ji. Thank you very much. Just want to know your view on the chances of a worldwide chaos like World War III. What can we expect from this? Is it possible? And then if yes, how can we survive it? I have answered this question time and again, Robin, but I'll tell you this again. We are already in the middle of a world war. There are 12 countries or more who have a naval coalition firing missiles into 3 or 4 countries. There are the Israelis attacking Gaza, specifically the Hamas. Hamas attacking the Israelis. There is Ukraine and Russia trying to kill each other. There is the Indian Navy that is active, right, which has stopped more than 17 attacks. There is the Chinese Navy, which is active in the Red Sea. The Iranians are bombing Pakistan, they are bombing Iraq and Syria. Everybody's bombing everybody. What about the Somali pirates? So Africa is involved, Asia is involved, South Asia is involved, Europe is involved. It looks like a world war to me. How can we survive it? I don't know, sir. I don't know. This question, how can we survive a world war? I don't know. But we are in the middle of the war. There are no two ways about it. Arunachal Mudgerikar. Why can't drone hover for an unlimited period if they get recharged like satellites, solar panels? Why can't they work like a moving camera and a guided probe, stent placement device and cardiology? No, they cannot, because a drone is very large. A drone carries a stent is this big. A drone is phenomenal. It requires energy, and solar energy is not sufficient. This is like asking, why can't an electric car with solar panels on the roof run indefinitely without charging? It can't be done. We don't have the technology for that. No one does. Manish Dikshit says, Jai Hind sir, Jai Hind Manish ji. It has been seen multiple times that people from Pak, Bangladesh, non-democratic, easily claim that they can enter India through Nepal, Bhutan, and documentation will not be a problem. Do you think border is not as safe as we think and more strict action needs to be taken? Yes, of course. The Home Ministry has already taken cognizance and they are working, towards at least the Myanmar border is going to be fenced and other borders also. So that action is already being taken. There are plans in place, there is a budget in place, and they are executing it. So I think you're right, but somebody upstairs has already heard you, heard all of us. We want the border to be shut. It's being shut. Santosh Warrior, Kalika Mata ki Jai. Jai Hind, Major Bhai. Santosh ji, Kalika Mata ki Jai aur Jai Hind. We've already seen how relatively inexpensive drones can wreck a tank in Russia-Ukraine war. So why are we investing in Zorawar light tanks on the China border? What stops China from simply droning Zorawar out? Okay, China also has light tanks, right? And nothing stops us from droning out Chinese tanks also. We also have drones. So, see, you cannot compare the terrain and the situation. Every war is different. The war in Ukraine and Russia, between Ukraine and Russia, is a totally different war. And the face-off between China and India is totally different. So, it's not drone dependent. Drones are an important ingredient, but they are not, you see, finally, to face off against a tank, you need another tank. And the reason why you have a light tank is the altitudes and the terrain. Otherwise, we would have put 2-3 squadrons of Arjun tanks there or T-90s there. There are T-90s there, by the way. But you need lighter tanks for that terrain, 25 tons, 30 tons type of tanks. And I don't agree that you can drone out this thing. Otherwise, there is no need for infantry, there is no need for artillery, there is no need for special forces, there is no need for anybody. Mechanized, mech forces, nothing. All you need is millions and millions of drones and they'll do the job. It doesn't happen like that. War is infinitely more complicated, and maybe sometime when we meet, we'll sit down and discuss how things happen. But yes, drones pose a significant threat, but drones are not the be-all and end-all that we have made them out to be. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. If you like this video, press the like button, Subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon, especially those friends who watch our video in their tens and thousands every single day but do not subscribe. Why in God's name don't you subscribe? Please subscribe. We'll all be very grateful for your encouragement. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata ki Jai.